relatively new to Cosford actually. I think they're using it as a training aid, but it's great to see. So Cosford have got, I'm sorry, I'm going to sound like a proper Typhoon nerd now. Cosford have got some huge history actually for the Typhoon. So if you go to the museum, they've got what we call EAP, so the Experimental Aircraft Program. So effectively Typhoon in a very basic form kit. I think it's got Tornado tail on it, but yeah, EAP, and then moves into development aircraft. So each nation had its own development aircraft. We have got what we call D84, so development aircraft number 4, the UK one. If I take a quick segue, that was actually the kind of the inspiration for a Blackjack, and we all know Blackjack, the Typhoon display team, had a black paint scheme because D4 originally was fitted with lots of sensors that made the aircraft look black. And when the original paint scheme was envisaged by Steve and the team, that was one of the reasons to link the history of Typhoon back into Blackjack.
It was a nod to its original sort of look.
Yeah, exactly, and that's kind of what we do in the display world, isn't it? We try and preserve history, and again we're back to Spluggy and Mark 1. That's what we're here to do, preserve history and show it off for the crowds to see.
Yeah, I mean, just mentioning Mark, obviously he's someone that you've known for a long time. You've flown with him, you've worked with him.
Yeah. Well, look back in my logbook, he was actually he was the first pilot I flew Hawk with. So yeah, he's been around like me for quite some time, and he's touched a lot of people, and we're going to miss him.
Yeah. Just back onto the development aircraft that we can see at Cosford today. Then what's the major differences between that and then what you fly?
So clearly, development aircraft was developed, so it was early 2000s, I believe. So on the outside, it looks very similar. It's tipsy, which you don't really see much of. It's got lots of different bits on it. Only really the kind of, when you look at it closely, you'll spot. That was obviously throughout testing. It was designed to test air data transducers, so the bits that go into the computers on the aircraft. And that was kind of the UK specific for it.
In terms of sort of size, shape, it's very similar.
Yeah, it's really similar to the two-seaters that we've got today, and very similar to the single-seaters, but it's great to see that piece of history play out a little bit.
I think it's come up from Duxford.
Yeah, so it's in Cosford. I think there's a little time where it's going to go to Newark. There's probably some politics there. We won't talk about that. And then obviously head to the back, Cosford, for their training aid. But like I said, it's great to see.
And how long do you think it will be till more Typhoons start coming through as training aids here at Cosford? It must be a weird thing for the guys who are the Typhoon engineers of the future that you don't have them here to practice that.
No, they seem to be working with a kind of slightly older tech, the Tornadoes, the Jaguars, and only now getting the Typhoons to use the training aid. We're obviously slowly retiring the Tranche 1s, the early Typhoons, because they're coming to the end of their service life. Great aircraft, but again, where we're going in terms of software systems, they just can't keep up. So we'll probably see more of those coming through Cosford. I hope many of the guys here don't train.
And also, like you say, down there by that development aircraft static, there's a Tornado down there as well, which also holds a bit of a place in your heart.
Yeah, there's a couple. There's the air defence variant, which we won't talk about, but the ground attack variant is obviously the true Queen of the Skies there. So yeah, she's not with us anymore. But yeah,
We've got some cufflinks made of pinky now.
Yeah. So I don't know who that was who gave me that present, but yeah, someone just donated me a present made of pinky, and they come out on special occasions. Yeah.
How about the catwalk, the row of Jaguar statics down there? How's that looking?
Yeah, it's great. It's getting loads of attention, loads of people down there. It's great to see. I think one of the ones that we saw last year, the Jaguar spotted painted Jaguar is not with us. That's at the Lossy now, which is great for them. But obviously it's a bit of a miss for Cosford. But the black Jaguars down there, there's loads of different Jaguars down there, and again, great aircraft to see on. Fantastic.
And again, what's great with the layout here at Cosford is it does make a difference. So while we have a few minutes, but now we see a tremendous illustration of this, courtesy of the Gazelle Squadron display team. 4 examples of the Westland Gazelle. They're the only civilian helicopter display team in the UK at present, and it's the first time that these Westland-built examples. So in for their first manoeuvre, please welcome the 2024 Gazelle Squadron. of kinetic at Boscombe Down.
And indeed, what's great to see is it back in its sort of kinetic colours, isn't it?
Yes, it almost went straight from military use, and of course latterly Kinetic was a civilian organisation, but still on the military register, into civilian hands. They're now crossing over at Display Centre. Following it is an example in the colours of number 32 Squadron, which used the Gazelle for VIP transport duties. Served with number 27 Squadron, supporting the Chinooks that were the bread and butter of 27's operations. They used to use the Gazelle for daytime reconnaissance runs on low-level navigation routes that would be flown later the same evening by the Chinooks to save Chinook airframe hours and, of course, the sort of cost that would be involved in doing that. It was painted for many years in an all-green colour scheme, and that's just been reapplied to this aircraft for the 2024 display season, and I think this is only one of its very first outings in this livery.
And I'm sure you've noticed already the interesting tail rotor this aircraft has. It's quite common these days, but was brand new when the Gazelle came into service, known as the Fenestron. It's a kind of ducted tail rotor, whereas initially the tail rotor was very open, just like a small propeller. As the squadron come past, have a look at the tails, you'll see they're sort of enclosed. That was for a number of very positive reasons. If you accidentally stuck your tail into a tree, at least it had a little bit of protection. It was much safer on the ground. A UK first design was made in the UK. University adopted it. You can see quite clearly those four fenestrons on the squadron.
Up the rear is an X-705 Naval Air Squadron Gazelle of the Fleet Air Arm. And it was 705 that provided both the Sharks and the Pussers pair display teams on the circuit for many years. As for the pilots, well, leading the team for 2024 is Richard Mitchell, who's been with the team since it was founded more than 6 years ago. He flew the Gazelle and Lynx with the Army Air Corps, including operations during the 1991 Gulf conflict and later in the former Yugoslavia on all the peacekeeping efforts that were mounted there through the 1990s. He left the services but continued to fly the Gazelle as a military reservist. He now flies the Airbus A350 for Virgin Atlantic. Number 2 is Merrick Forsyth, who's new to the team this year. He started out in the Fleet Air Arm of the Royal Navy. He flew for 2 seasons as part of their Sharks 4-ship formation team of Gazelles. He was an instructor on the Gazelle and the Sea King, and he has a lot of post-service experience in the police and emergency medical helicopter worlds, and this is his first season, as I say, on the team. Gazelle 3 is flown by Bruce Stewart. He's been flying helicopters since the 1970s with the Army Air Corps. He flew the Scout, the Lynx and the Gazelle. He flew with the Blue Eagles team for several seasons, and he now counts among the most experienced Gazelle pilots in the UK, later going on to fly Boeing 747s and 787 Dreamliners for Virgin Atlantic.
Formation there, but watch now as the aircraft is split away. Incredibly small. This is billed as a 5-seater aircraft. We do have a 5th one here at Cosford on the ground for you to have a look at. That again is towards the big video screen, and it's a very tight squeeze. Very small helicopter in UK service, certainly with the Army, very much paired with the Lynx, used to observe. Being so small and nimble, it really could get what we call into the lap of the earth, down behind the trees, peeking over the top. reconnaissance, looking for targets, ready to pass that information onto the links to make the attack.
But also used by all three services for training purposes, and 3 Commando Brigade Air Squadron, the Royal Marine Support Squadron, part of the Royal Navy's wider structure, also flew the Gazelle alongside the Lynx for many years. The pilot breaking away there, incidentally, to be solo was Gazelle 4 Jim Richards, who converted, having been a member of the Royal Artillery, following on from his grandfather, his father and his uncle's service, to becoming a pilot much later in 1996, serving with the Army Air Corps and flying from 2000 onwards with their display team, the Blue Eagles. He's now got 1,200 or so hours on the Gazelle. He works as a businessman working around Europe and flying in his spare time.
See you later. Yeah. Keep them warm.
The Gazelle is generally regarded to be the fastest single-engine helicopter. We will talk about helicopter speed records a little later on with another aircraft. Certainly capable of nearly 200 miles an hour, which in helicopter terms is very fast. There is very strong aerodynamic reasons that keep helicopters down to a certain speed because of the speed of the rotors through the air. From part of the disc they are going backwards, and that creates all sorts of very interesting aerodynamic effects, which does have a limiting factor on the top speed of the aircraft. Combat proven has been already mentioned in the Gulf and of course in the Falklands as well. I think it's fair to say anyone in the front of the Gazelle felt very vulnerable. Excellent view, absolutely excellent view. Sometimes a little bit too excellent when you're under enemy fire.
Have a good day? Yeah, I'll sign that for you. Have a good day.
All 4 helicopters owned by Falcon Aviation, and the team has a number of volunteer ground crew who assist in bringing them to you on the display circuit.
There's someone bring it.
In straight towards you now for the break. That was the Gazelle HT3 model. Calling his colleagues back into line astern as they position over the countryside. Once again, coming straight in towards you of the 2024 Gazelle Squadron. Really nice display, genuinely harking back.
Indeed. So just a few moments while we recover the Gazelles. Most of the rotary that's flying today is located away to your left-hand side. I'm sure they'll take a visit over to the tactical supply wing to have a squirt of fuel. Their work done for the day. What a delight it is to welcome them here to Cosford this year.
And especially, as Andy said, because you can get up close to and sit in a Gazelle cockpit here in the showground.
And that is one of the great features of the show here. There is so much to do, so much to see, so much to interact with. To actually get into these cockpits is a very rare treat. So is the Gazelles that we are commemorating this year. It's on D-Day. And it's a couple of those roles we're about to look at with these next two aircraft. Yes, they come to us from the Rolls-Royce Heritage Flight based at East Midlands Airport. And quite apart from recalling the role that these aircraft performed operationally, they also pay tribute to the key part played by Rolls-Royce in, of course, providing their power plants and the link with the power plants that Rolls-Royce provides to the British and American aerospace industry today. We have the Marine Spitfire PR-19, a Rolls-Royce Griffon engine version of the Spitfire, and with the traditional make of the Packard built version of the Merlin engine, the North American E51 Mustang, which also serves to represent the Allison engine Mustang, flown by the RAF on D-Day and thereafter with the tactical reconnaissance role. Wait for these two aircraft to run in.